Welcome to Built to Win, the podcast created to help you level up your business game by developing a success mindset made for the long run. In this episode, Neora's Dave Fleming talks with Samantha Hind, founder of Oxano Global and author of Show Up Anyway. In this energizing discussion about the evolving landscape of direct selling, Dave and Sam cover a wide range of topics, including the power of authentic storytelling, the role of social media in business growth, and why simplicity and human connection are more vital than ever.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Built to Win. This is going to be an amazing episode. I have a very special guest with me today. Samantha Hind is the founder of Oxano Marketing, which is a fantastic and very successful marketing firm out of Australia. She's also written a book, actually her second book. It just came out 4 weeks ago at the time of this podcast. She's going to talk a little bit about that. And just an amazing person overall, very, very successful in several different things. I'm really excited to dive into some of the things, some of your experience, not only around entrepreneurship and direct selling, but just about life in general. So Sam, first of all, thanks for coming on the podcast, and would love for you to just introduce yourself for our fans and for our listeners who maybe haven't heard of you yet.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Dave. And I love the fact that we get to do this from anywhere in the world, but you happen to be in Australia right now as well. So we're both hanging out from down under, which is a bit of fun. But yeah, look, I'm really passionate about business builders. I help people get online, share their story, share their passion, share their message on social media. And I do this because I've been in a place before where I felt totally left behind by technology. I think so many people now who are growing business feel that way. You know, depending on how old you are, but most of us, unlike my kids now, didn't grow up with a mobile phone in our hand from birth. And, you know, it's one of those things that it's a real reality of the world that we're in. And yet, you know, how do we use it and use it effectively? Because it can be such a time waster, and it can be super ineffective if not done right. And so I'm, you know, passionately love to help other business owners, business builders learn what's working right now, how to apply it, and most importantly, apply it. So, you know, that's, I guess, in a nutshell, you know, we travel the world speaking on social media for business growth. My book is all about showing up and how to do that authentically and in a way that actually gets results and, you know, builds the courage that I think most of us need to do it. And I'm really passionate about the direct selling industry and seeing it grow and flourish. And so, you know, I've got my own podcast to help with that too. There's so many fun things that we're doing at the moment. But yeah, that's a bit of a very rough rundown of what we do.
Yeah, doing all of the things, all and doing them well. I should say, like everything. Let's start with the podcast. Where can people find the podcast? What is it called? And give us your brief synopsis on what that's all about.
Well, the podcast is called the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast. It took me a lot of years actually to drum up the courage to start it, but we are now just thinking about our 300th episode. So we've been going for about 6 years. And the aim of the podcast is to do several things. The first thing is I want to share a lot of the mistakes that I made that I don't want other people to make. I'm also sharing social media strategies, tips and tricks and things that are relevant. So we come out every week with an episode, but the part I love the most is being able to showcase amazing guests who are a combination of things. Obviously, we've had you on the podcast. That's definitely an episode that people need to check out. And we have a lot of leaders from not just the direct selling industry and network marketing, but also from businesses all over the world that have successfully grown or implemented unique strategies to get growth that I want our listeners to be able to hear about in order to think to themselves about what their own recipe needs to be. And, you know, everyone's got their own recipe they need to find. There's no one way to do it right, but there are so many incredible leaders we can learn from. And I wanted to be able to bring those to people through the podcast. But also I wanted to be able to bring founder stories because I really think that, you know, in network marketing and MLM and direct selling as a whole, we tend to hear about the story of our own company, but we don't necessarily understand those stories of other companies that we're not involved in. And there are so many incredible founder stories that I wanted to be able to bring to people's ears. I just want people to understand the beauty of business from the beginning and the inception, because most businesses started from an idea in someone's lounge room. Yet we see this huge corporate building and just assume that, that's the way it's always been. And I wanted people to be able to see that even that big company that you look at now, that you might either respect or judge or whatever it might be, started from a person's idea, just like your business has. And if there's possibility for them to get to where they are, there's possibility for you to get where you want to go. And so the podcast is really about inspiring people, giving them hope, giving them dreams, but also giving them strategies, most importantly. And so that's what it's all about. And yeah, we have a lot of fun with that. And I get to meet cool people like you from all over the world, which is great.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You probably have a very impressive contacts list in your phone. But that's really
That
interesting.
is
You said something that I picked up on, because I think you're right. Like not too many years ago in direct selling network marketing, companies were almost afraid to let you see what other companies were doing or hear about other companies. And it was almost like this fear-based, like, what if they hear something better than us? And I don't, I think that fear was kind of unfounded, because people choose the company they want to be affiliated with.
Yeah.
And these other stories can be so inspiring. But I'm curious, like, what are you seeing in the field, in direct selling and network marketing, about companies and companies that are growing, companies that aren't growing? Because it's certainly an interesting space right now, with a lot of companies on the up, and then a lot of companies flat or declining. And so we're
Yeah.
kind of seeing a little bit of everything. Are you seeing similar things?
Oh, it's a real mixed bag at the moment, and there are some patterns that we're seeing at the moment that's really interesting and fascinating that you bring up that mindset, because it's definitely getting better. But I can tell you, Dave, it's still there. Like we get to work with doing what we do. Dozens of different companies every year. And, in doing that, we get to see lots of different cultures, lots of different systems, lots of different versions of trainings. We see the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we're inside of the companies, but we're also with the field. And, you get two versions of everything with every company with that. And
Mm.
the really interesting thing is that there are still some companies out there right now that are very insulated, is the way I would describe it. It's very much about us versus them. We do things this way. And the biggest shift I think I've seen in this space over the last, I'm going to say, 2 to 5 years. I think in the last 2 years, it's become very obvious, because there's been some new technology put in place by some companies that have really, started to move this thinking process forward. But over the last 5 years, I think companies are starting to get a little bit more open-minded about the concept of it's all of us. We're a one great big family, and when we work together, we make this industry better. And you might, recall the time where most companies had a rule where you could only sell our products. You couldn't sell other companies' products if you wanted to advance past a certain level in the company. And I understand the school of thought there to a degree, but the world has shifted and changed, and people don't want to be restricted anymore to, I can only do this, and this company is kind of holding on to me tight. It's a little bit like a teenager. I'm learning, Dave, because I've got teenagers. I know you do too, that sometimes you got to give them a little bit of, in order to have them draw close, you need to let them have the choice to draw close, right? Not feel controlled and forced to do it. And we're seeing a lot of technology now that's allowing companies to have their products, or in the affiliate space. And I'm not suggesting this is necessarily the right way to go, but it's just interesting to notice that this is the direction a lot of companies are going now, where they can have their products listed alongside other companies' products. And so a distributor can come in and say, hey, I'm going to sell multiple things. Now, again, I don't know if this is going to work moving forward, but I like that companies are saying, let's work together. And I've seen a couple of companies in the last couple of years also collaborating together on products, which is really interesting to see. But it's those that are being innovative in this space that are saying, look, with a rising tide, it floats all ships. How can we work together? How can we get innovative? How can we get creative? Rather than us versus them, how do we actually all work together to build this industry up? And I think that's the mentality that we need to see more of, that's actually shifting companies forward. The ones that are staying insulated and, are not communicating with other companies and not working together seem to be the ones that are stagnant or seeing a decline at the moment.
No, I would agree with that as well. I think that assessment is spot on. I think the companies that are trying to hold on to how they got to where they are today are the ones that are struggling the most to hang on to that growth. And the companies that are embracing kind of new and different, and especially over the last few years, but social media has absolutely changed the game in direct selling. And I think will continue to be an important, probably more than important, necessary part of growing a successful direct selling business. But I'm curious also, because I've always maintained that the principles of direct selling they haven't changed all that much over the decades. The venue has changed. Like social media obviously is a kind of disruptive technology that has been introduced to direct selling and network marketing. But the principle of how you use social marketing and social selling and social platforms to grow your business, I feel, is an extension of the principle of direct selling. Am I totally off on that, or have
No,
you seen this?
I 100% agree with that. And, it's really interesting because people will hire me to come in and speak on social media, what's working, what's not, the latest, the strategies, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really funny because I come from a place of feeling left behind and like I wasn't tech savvy. And how do I take old school marketing into this new school world? And I wanted to be able to share with people, that it's not about having more technology. And I think this is where we get really caught up now. What makes this industry so beautiful is the connection and the relationships. And I think we're at a risk of losing that if we're not careful. Um,
Hmm.
and I say that because social media, you can use it one of two ways. You can use it as your only way. You can use it to, I think there's this fear that if I come in and I teach social media, that people will think that they need to totally take their business online and change the way that they run their business in this industry. And it is not at all the case. In fact, I'll be the first person to say, I want you spending less time on social media, but I want you to be productive with the time that you do spend. Because here's the thing, it is a completely necessary tool. If you are not on social media, there's a possibility that you could be successful, but it is slim to none. Because at the end of the day, there's an opportunity to reach a never-ending source of potential leads. And if you're not there, somebody else who is going to get that opportunity and you're not. But it shouldn't take over your business. You are still the most important part of your business. And people are not buying the product, they're not buying the business, they're not buying a service, they're buying you first. Social media is just a brilliant way to show up. And it should be used as a tool, not the be all and end all. And this is where I think people get it really wrong. They think I need to be more technical, more tech savvy if I'm going to be successful. And the opposite is actually true. I think when I teach people the strategies that are working right now, I see so many people, and after a training, we'll get hundreds of testimonials from people coming in saying, oh my goodness, this is so much easier than I thought it needed to be. I was overcomplicating it. This has been a huge relief for me. And when I'm speaking at an event, I'll literally see people going, when I explain what they need to do, because it's not about using more tools. It's not about using more apps and, cool equipment and being more tech savvy. It's about being more human, because at the other end of that device is actually another human being. And the beautiful thing about that is that's what makes this industry so incredibly impactful. So we get to take the best of what works on social media and apply it to an industry that is the best at doing that. And I think that's just such an awesome, awesome opportunity for us moving forward if we can help people do that well.
Yeah, no, that is such a powerful statement that there's, you're a human being, there's a human being at the other end of what you're messaging. That's so easy to forget that. And for a few years, and this is really interesting that you brought this up, because for a few years, I feel like there were technology companies in direct selling that were trying to kind of automate that personal relationship. And what we're
Yeah.
seeing is that you can't automate that personal connection. Like there's just no way to authentically do that. And so these companies are kind of starting to fade away. And there's now this new kind of rise of AI that's saying, oh, well, we can do this better. And so it's really a super interesting time right now. I'm curious, have you run into successful companies or successful business builders who are implementing AI to enhance or to supplement or to grow those personal
Yeah.
relationships? Or, I mean, we could talk for an hour on just AI, but I'm
Oh,
just
you
curious,
you just
like,
opened up the can of worms.
you sure did.
Um, Look, if I'm to give a really quick answer to that, there's a yes and a no answer. And that is, look, we can't ignore AI just like we can't ignore social media. It's not going anywhere in a hurry. And it is powerful. I use AI every day. But here's the interesting thing is I don't use AI to replace me. I use it to enhance me. And so you won't look, I've got to be very careful because there are some amazing, amazing tools and some incredible technology out there. And I get the honor and privilege of working with many of these companies. Many of the companies you've just mentioned that were automating connection, I was working closely with many of them to help them with correct implementation, which means we don't want to eject ourselves from our business. And that's the danger with any of these technologies is they can simplify things so much that you don't even need to show up anymore. And that's not what they're there for. What they're there for is to
Mm,
help you be more productive and be more of you to more people. But the challenge is that we can get almost lazy in our approach and just let the tools do the work. And that's not the right way to do it. Same thing with AI. Meta themselves have recently come out and given us their latest numbers. And one of those numbers that they gave us was that over 40% of all content on Facebook and Instagram right now are coming from AI. And this leads people to ask the question, what's real? What can I trust? What can I believe? And we don't want to be one of those people that when I put a post out there, people are going, was that really Sam? Or was that really Dave? Or was that AI? So this is where, I'm really passionate about story selling rather than showing up with, posts that are completely created by AI. We need to insert our own passion, our own story, our own journey. And that helps people feel a genuine connection to the relatable version of us. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't use these tools such as AI and certain automations. And look, I think there's a time and a place for everything. I use pieces of these things all of the time to be more productive and to help me with ideas and creativity. But even now with on a post I might put out there, let's say with a lead magnet, which is, one of the most powerful lead generating strategies on social media you could do at the moment, I will still personally respond to the thousands of comments I will get myself. And my team often say to me, "You're crazy, but we know why you do it because every single person that gets a response from you knows it's you." The other thing is that I want everyone to know, and this is important for this industry as well, when we're dealing with people, we don't ever want them to feel like a number because you don't know who that person is going to become in the business. They might just be a customer. I shouldn't say just because it's not a just. They may be a customer, they may become team, they may become, a top leader in the business, but they may be the person that introduces you to someone that totally changes your world. And you don't know who they're going to be for you. But if you don't personally show up, you miss that magic. And I think that's where our industry is different to retail or anything else is that we are a human connection uh, in many ways one-to-one industry. And I really don't want us to lose that because of the tools. So the tools are great. There's, AI is amazing. Like I said, I use it every day, but I don't use it to replace me. I use it to enhance me. And I think that's the defining difference between those that are successful with these tools and those that aren't.
yeah, I think that is perfectly well said. Not surprising that you would phrase it perfectly. That's what you do. But but I agree. It's and I think that this is just my personal opinion in the space because I think that that personal relationship is what started this business in the first place. It's what continues to grow this business. And so you can't really replace that personal relationship effectively through any kind of technology, but you can certainly enhance it. And like you said, you can make yourself more effective in the time that you do spend in your business by implementing these tools. And I know, we at Neora, we use AI every day on a number of different things. I use it personally on a number of different things, like you said. But I think that there's an opportunity within direct selling because I see more and more noise. I think that number 40% from Meta, I think that's only going to increase, right? Because it becomes so
Yeah.
easy to create AI generated content that I think
Yeah.
40% is really just the tip of the iceberg. And I see a time not too distant where you can't really tell what's real, what's not through unless you know the person who's
Mm,
producing content, which for us in direct selling network marketing, that's kind of the perfect scenario because that human interaction, that human relationship is exactly what built this business. And that
yeah,
principle that so many companies are founded on, which is that 92% of people believe the recommendation or trust the recommendation of somebody they know over any other form of advertising, becomes
yeah.
more and more relevant every single day. So it's what a great way to summarize that and kind of say, sum it up. Like, yes, we don't use this to replace me, just to enhance me. I think that's the perfect approach to AI. Um, I want to shift gears a little bit because I know you've been working really, really hard, and we just released 4 weeks ago, as of the time of recording this podcast, just released your latest book, and I would love to dive into a little bit about that. You mentioned that it's really kind of directed for what you're seeing and what people need to know in 2025, and showing
Yeah.
up authentically and how to grow their business as a which is super appropriate right now, but as a real person who's representing their business in the right way. So
Mm.
jump into that and also congratulations. You told me that it took
Yeah.
from conception to printing in just 4 weeks, which is just absolutely incredible. I don't know that I've ever heard of anything being done that quickly. So congrats on that too.
Yeah. Well, look, honestly, the book has been I've been writing this for 10 years and I have been saying for 10 years, one day I'm gonna print this book. One day I'm gonna get my book out there. One day, one day, one day. And I was actually doing a podcast interview with somebody who really inspired me, who just said, like, why haven't you done it? And the answer I gave was there were two answers to this. The first one was I wanted a book that was timeless. And I work in social media. I teach people social media strategies. So anything that I put that is about what's currently working is going to be outdated in weeks or months. And so that was a little fear that I had. But the other thing was I had this idea that, well, I've never done it before and it's scary. And well, how will this actually work? And do I have what it takes? And I stopped and I went, hang on a second, Sam. If you were coaching somebody else who was saying this to you, what would you say to them? Well, life starts at the end of our comfort zone. And if you ever want to grow, you're going to have to push that comfort zone, right? So and everything that we do for the first time is hard. And I say this to people every day. You know, the first time you do a Facebook Live, the first time you create a reel, it's going to feel hard. Just like my, toddler right now is learning lots of new skills. She recently learned to walk and she learned to jump and she learned to run. And as I watched her do all of these things, she tried them for the first time and then fell over and got up and brushed herself off and had another go. She didn't sort of go, well, I tried walking a couple of times. It didn't work. I just don't think I'm a walker. I guess I'll just crawl for the rest of my life. And I thought,
Mhm.
like, why am I not applying this to my own journey? And I've got a message that I could reach so many more people with than just those that happen to be in a room that I might be speaking in front of. So, what I ended up doing was sharing some of my own, and yes, I went from making that decision to I need to set myself an unreasonable deadline to get my book out there, and I called it Show Up Anyway because number one, that's what I was doing when I wrote the book, but number two, if there were any social media strategy that I could teach that is going to be the most powerful strategy of all, it is showing up. It's not about perfection. It's not about getting it right. It's about consistently showing up. And most importantly, showing up as yourself, not as the company, not as the product. And, that is timeless. That will never change. And the day that it changes, I'm not teaching this stuff anymore because it's become too automated and humans are rejected and I don't want to be a part of it. So, the thing is that we need to be able to have that courage and confidence, but that doesn't happen without pushing the comfort zone. I really believe that courage, if we wait till we're ready, if we wait for courage, if we wait for, I feel like doing a post now where I take a selfie and share my latest little thoughts or something I'm passionate about or how I do this or how I do that, we're never going to show up. So it's about showing up before you're ready. But I actually share in the book some strategies that I personally implement, things that I've done that I consistently do that have helped me get to where I am, but also things that I teach people every day that help them get to where they want to go. And I wanted to teach it in a way that was implementable. So this book is a little bit unique because you and I have spoken about this before, Dave. I don't believe in motivation, and I don't really believe in us being given more knowledge, because we can learn anything we want to learn like that. Just go to YouTube and Google it, use ChatGPT. You'll find out whatever you want to know in a heartbeat. But knowledge isn't power. It's only potential power. It's not till we implement that knowledge that it gets us the growth and the results. So what I've actually done is I've based this book around what I call my care method. And it's like, I like to think of a business as a three-legged stool. You need to have all three of those legs on that stool if it's going to stand upright. But the most important part of the stool is actually not the legs. And you'll find out about the legs in the book. I talk all about what they are and what you need to do in order to be successful, both on social media, but in business in general. And again, these are lessons I had to learn the hard way. So I know from personal experience that you leave one of these out, your business is not going to grow. But the most important part is actually the E in care, which is the last part, and that's the top of the stool. Um, and that's if you can have all three of those legs on the go, but if you don't have the top on that stool, all three legs fall over. And the E is actually execution. It's the implementation process. It's the part where you take what you've learned and you do something with it. And so every chapter in the book is a concept that is a really important concept. I simplify it right down to make it easy. It's less than 100 pages, so it's so easy and quick to read. But at every chapter at the end, there's an action step, which is your chance to execute and implement what you learned from that chapter, from that area of business. And so it takes you through several different things that you need to do. And by the end of the book, you've actually got this plan in place, this strategy in place, not just an idea of the strategy, but it's rolling, you're doing it. And that for me was the dream. How can I create a book that people don't just consume, or that doesn't just become shelf help, as I like to call it, gathers dust over there in the corner, but something that
Mhm.
people use for implementation. And I've already had, oh gosh, I can't even count the number of people that have reached out and told me what a game changer it's been for them so far, because it got them doing things. And that's exactly what I wanted it to do.
That is fantastic. And I agree with you. I think people have been motivated to death in this space. And there's an abundance of opportunity to go read motivational material or listen to motivational talks. And so I think there's absolutely a wealth of that information out there, less so of the actual strategy to implement that. And I think one thing that's important, and I will die on this hill, but I truly believe, and the data support me on this, by the way, but people don't quit direct selling or network marketing companies because they don't believe in the product, or they don't believe that the company works, or that they're going to get paid. They don't even quit because their neighbor tells them that they've joined a pyramid scheme or anything like that.
Yeah.
The number one reason people quit, the number one reason people quit this business is because they don't know what to do next.
Mhm. Yep.
And that, when you really boil it down to that, like, yes, all those other things are just extra bricks on your shelf, weighing it down until it breaks. But if
Yeah.
you know what to do next and you are
Mhm.
confident in that next step, then people stay, and ultimately people succeed. Our business
Yeah.
is full of people who took that first step, and that first step was just earning free product. Never intended to do anything more than earn free product in our business, and now they're
Yep.
now they're earning trips or car payments, or something much more significant than that.
Yeah.
Um, what advice would you give a brand new person who's just starting their own direct selling journey on how to get
Mm.
started, how to show up anyway? Like, is there a
Yeah.
secret to it, or like, how do
Yeah.
you? Okay,
Start. It's,
start. Okay.
um, look, I think there's several things in here, and it depends on a number of things, because number one, what company are you with? Some companies, and back to the first thing that you asked, Dave, right at the beginning of this conversation, one of the things that I've noticed about the companies that are doing really well right now are the ones that are creating amazing training. The ones that are really focusing on that step by step, consistent training that anybody can do. I really believe that repetition is the mother of skill. And I think a lot of companies are moving, they go, we've already taught that, we've already done that, we're going to go to the more complicated thing over here. And they overcomplicate their training. The other big issue I see happening, and I'll answer your question in a little moment, but I just want to say this because I think it's really, really important. And if any companies are listening to this right now, please be careful of this, is when you implement too many tools. And I see lots of companies going, oh, this is the new flavor of the year. I'm going to implement this tool for people to use. And then before they know it, next year at convention, you're announcing another tool that they can use. And they're just going, like, which way is up? There's so much technology. There's so many things I could learn here. And what do I learn? And they just don't do any of it. They just become like a deer in headlights. They get overwhelmed. And then the companies say, well, why is no one adopting or implementing this technology that we've spent all of this money on? But it does create mass confusion. And so I really believe in simplification when it comes to training and repetition, because courage follows implementation. Confidence follows implementation. So when people start, they're going to feel scared. So if you're just starting out, I would say just take one step. One of the things I talk in the book about is the 2 millimeter or the 1 degree shift. I've changed my language to 1 degree over the last 6 months because I'm aware that I'm in Australia. We say millimeter, not the rest of the world doesn't. So I've changed it to degree because everyone uses degrees, right? So the 1 degree shift, which is you don't need to make big changes dramatically once or twice or 3 times. You need to make tiny changes repetitively. And it can be really overwhelming when you start a business to know what to do next. So the best thing that you can do is, number one, just ask yourself, what's the 1 degree shift? What's the little thing I can do today? What's the one little thing I can do to step out of my comfort zone today to learn and implement something new? The rest will follow in time, because if you do some small things done consistently can move mountains. And any leader you will see who's been successful in this business didn't do it by doing big things a few times. They did it by consistently every single day showing up and learning new skills along the way and consistently growing themselves. They're masters of consistency. But the other thing I would say, and it kind of leads to that, is follow the patterns. So sometimes, and I said that it comes down to several different circumstances to how someone comes into the business as to what they're going to need to do. Because number one, it depends on the company you come into and the training you're provided with. You may need to seek your own training and learn some skills for yourself that are going to help you get there, that work for you, because different people learn in different ways. And your company may not. Most companies are pretty good these days at having incredible training, but they may not have something that really resonates with you, that you feel that you can learn from and implement. It may not work for you. But the other thing that comes into this is who brought you in. Now, if the person that brought you in is somebody who you can look at and say, you know what, that's a success journey I need to follow. What you need to do from that is remember that you will find your own recipe. There's no one way to do it. And this can be problematic again in this industry. I know, Dave, you and I have talked about this before, where we see someone will stand up and say, I've cracked the code. Here's the one way. Everyone do exactly as I do and duplicate me and follow my steps. The problem with that is people do what they say and it doesn't work for them. And then they think it's their fault and there's something wrong with them. But that system was set up for that person, with that person's personality, learning type, their passions, their ideal target customer, their time. You've got a whole, perfect storm going on in your world. You've got your own personality. You've got your own time you can give to this business. You've got your own dreams and passions and vision for where you need this to go. But you also have your own ideal customer. And all of those things need to come into consideration when it comes to how you formulate and create your business and build your business, and what your daily habits need to be, and what social media strategy you need to use. And that's not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace and get excited by, because it means that you can follow success patterns from other people and ask, what do I need to take and learn from that person? And then what do I need to learn from that person? And what can I learn from over here? And how can I create my own perfect little recipe in business? Um, and again, I could talk on an hour for an hour just on this because I'm so passionate about this that, we actually all have everything we need within us and around us right now to be the best version of ourselves, to achieve everything that we want to achieve. Yet most of us think that I need to be less of me and more of somebody else in order to be successful. And I just want to help people smash that thought process and start to believe in themselves, because I really believe that is the key to success. And anyone starting out right now, I want you to know that you've already got everything you need. It's just about being resourceful. What can I learn? Who can I learn from? And what can I implement today that's my 1 degree shift? So that was a lot, but I'm very passionate about
No,
this.
no, but I think that of all the things in the business, like that's the right thing to be passionate about because and I'll say this from our perspective here at Neora, we've been relentlessly focused on simplifying our message this year, and it has paid off. And simplifying is not easy. Like ironically,
Yeah.
trying to keep things simple is one of the most complex things because you have to make a lot of tough decisions about what are we going to leave off the table and what are the
Yeah.
things that matter the absolute most. But what I love about what you said is that it is principle based principle because for me it's principles over tactics 100 out of 100 times because what you said is so spot on. Like people they'll get focused on, well, if I do this and this and this, I do A, B, and C, just like my mentor taught me to do, and they're focused on the tactics that their mentor is implementing to grow their business. And those tactics may not work for me, but the principle behind those tactics will work for you when you apply it to your world. And I think that gets missed so frequently because everybody's trying to find the thing, right? They're trying to find the steps that's going to help everybody grow their business.
Mm,
And
yeah.
and it just doesn't work that way because, well, heaven knows we're all different people. And so we live in
Yeah.
different worlds and we have different connections. And so that, I mean, I think like if we clip one soundbite from this episode, like that's the one is like you are yourself and applying those principles is going to be what ultimately leads you to success. Um, I'm really curious, like you talk to a lot of companies and I'll admit one thing that I miss about, when I was years ago, so I was I was on the outside of direct selling management. And I was selling to direct selling companies, and I got to see like the ins and outs of a lot of different companies, and that was fascinating for me. And now you've been doing that for a long time. I'm curious from your perspective, what do you see the future of direct selling and network marketing look like?
Yeah. It's look, there's so many parts to that question because I think I hate to say it, but I think we're not done seeing a big shift in companies at the moment. And what's really interesting to me is there's this new thought that we need to get back to the old in a very new world. And it's actually a really wonderful thought that I think is the future of this industry. And that is that we've moved for a period of time so far. And I think, hate mentioning a C word, but COVID really brought a time about where we had to shift completely online for a period of time. And right now we're in a transition where companies are having to go, oh, well, that that was that world then, but we actually need to backtrack a little. Um, but we can't go all the way back. So it's what does the new world look like right now? And I think this concept that, and I've seen a couple of companies actually in recent times doing this, and they're seeing explosive growth where they are coming back to supporting and prioritizing the individual, the field, connection, relatability, human to human, all of that sort of thing is starting to come back. It's kind of like a trend back towards the real and relatable. This is actually a trend we're seeing on social media as a whole, by the way, because of the introduction of AI and this, we talked about how AI is taking over as far as the amount of content that's AI created. But what that's created is a shift in actually what is being prioritized by the algorithms, but also what people are walking with their eyes, they're walking with their fingers right now on social media, and they're saying, we want more of that real, the raw, the unedited, the relatable, the human. And so this industry right now, the companies that are going, continuing to move into more tools, more technology are, I think, in some ways focused on the wrong things. Because as you just said, simplicity is the key now. People don't need more technology. They don't need more tools. They don't want it. They don't need it. And it actually isn't, we're not seeing dramatic growth and results from people that are using more tools. What we're seeing is more growth from people who are showing up as themselves. People who are literally just going, hit post or hit go live and just be you. And, I can't express this enough. It doesn't mean we don't use the tools. I just want to be really clear about that. I'm not like, I work closely with a lot of companies that produce these incredible tools, but it's the companies that are putting the focus back on the human and again, prioritizing the field. I've seen a few companies moving almost away from technology a little. And what I mean by that is less focus on online sales, more focus on using online to provide options and enhance, but not to replace. And, we had a company actually that came on the podcast the other day and talked about how they had removed all online sales through their own website of their product to go back to supporting the field. And not only was that, I was in the room when they announced this. It was at one of their company events, and people were crying. What happened was they went from the field not trusting and feeling afraid and feeling unsafe because of seeing all these companies shut down, that suddenly everyone went, wow, they're backing us, like they're supporting us. In the last 9 months, and I'm just trying to remember the numbers here. I think it was in the last 9 months, they've doubled their field size. So, and we're talking through recruiting. So business builders, they've doubled their business builders in their business in the last 9 months through simply coming back to human. And, I'm seeing a trend in this way. So what's the future for a direct selling? Look, I don't think it's more technology. I think technology is definitely an aid and it's powerful. It's important. We can't ignore it. We have to use it. But it's how we use it. I think this industry is going to come back to its grassroots. And I'm really excited by that because we started this whole conversation on this. It's what makes this industry so special is that connection, that human to human, that the service that you just cannot get through any other industry. But this industry also changes lives every single day, and that's why we're here. And I think the companies that are embracing that are the ones that we're going to see explosive growth from over the coming years.
This is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being here. Very, very well said. I'm excited about the future of direct selling as well for all the reasons that you just said. And I suspect that you'll be a big part of helping a lot of companies on their way to that growth. As we wrap up here, where can people find you? Tell us about your podcast. Where can they find your podcast?
Yeah.
Where can they find your book? Because I would love for people to take advantage of those things.
Yeah, awesome. Well, look, you can, if you want to just kind of peruse and check us out and see what we get up to, and you want some tips and social media strategies and bits and pieces, you can always check us out on Facebook or Instagram. On Facebook, we are Auxano Global. That's AUXANO. And on Instagram, you can find me at Sam Hind Digital Coach. We do a lot of fun stuff over there. I love to share a little bit about our journey and behind the scenes and connect with people one-to-one over there. But you can also get a copy of the book. It's called Show Up Anyway. It is available as an ebook on Kindle or paperback if you prefer having a physical copy in your hands. And you can get that on Amazon in any country or region. Just search for Show Up Anyway, Sam Hind. But on the podcast is social media. The Direct Selling Accelerator. I was going to say we've also got a free Facebook group called Social Media for Direct Sellers with Greg and Sam. But the podcast is the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. And make sure you of course check out the episode with Dave. And I think we spoke about the future of the industry in that episode too, and leadership and a bunch of other really great stuff. So lots of free resources, lots of things that you can avail yourself to. We'd love to connect with you.
That's amazing. Thank you. Congratulations on the book. Congratulations on the podcast, all of your success, and good luck on the future. I can't wait to see what is next for Sam Hind and Auxano Global. But thank you for joining my podcast today. And boy, we'll have to catch up again very soon.
Awesome. So great seeing you again, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody.
That was Dave Fleming talking with Samantha Hind about the evolving landscape of direct selling. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you learned something from it, please share it with a friend or colleague who you think would also benefit. And if you're new to Built to Win, we invite you to go back and listen to our story from the beginning. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And while you're there, please rate us and leave a review to let us know what you think of the show.